Long before kings ruled Israel, before prophets thundered in Jerusalem, before the 10 Commandments were written on stone, there was a man who heard the voice of God and dared to believe. His name was Abram, later called Abraham, the father of faith. His story is not one of perfection, but promise, a journey marked by obedience, mistakes, and the unwavering hand of God guiding him through every valley and every test. In the great city of Ur, filled with idols and false gods, Abram's heart was restless. Then came a voice, unlike any other, saying, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's house, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you a great nation." Abram obeyed. At 75, he took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and set out for a land he had never seen. There was no map, only a promise. Along the way, he built altars, not to mark territory, but to mark faith. In Canaan, famine struck, forcing him to Egypt, where fear overtook him. Afraid the Egyptians might kill him for Sarai's beauty, he said she was his sister. Pharaoh took her into his palace, but God intervened, sending plagues until the truth was revealed. Abram left Egypt humbled, learning that faith means trusting God even when fear tempts you to lie. As his wealth grew, conflict arose between his herdsmen and Lot's. Abram, a man of peace, said, "Let there be no conflict between us. Choose where you want to go." Lot chose the lush valley of Sodom, while Abram stayed in the dry hills of Canaan. Yet God told him, "Look north, south, east, and west. All the land you see, I give to you and your descendants." Faith, Abram learned, isn't about what you see, but who you trust. When Lot was captured by invading kings, Abram gathered 318 men and pursued them at night. He rescued Lot and returned victorious, where he met Melchizedek, the mysterious king of Salem and priest of God Most High, who blessed him. Abram gave him a tenth of everything and refused any spoils from the king of Sodom, saying, "I will take nothing from you." Time passed, and Abram began to wonder if the promise of descendants would ever come. God took him outside and said, "Look at the stars. So shall your descendants be." Abram believed, and his faith was counted as righteousness. God made a covenant, sealing it with blood and fire, promising the land from Egypt to the Euphrates. Yet as years passed and Sarai remained barren, impatience crept in. Sarai said, "Take my maidservant Hagar. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Hagar bore Ishmael, but jealousy tore the home apart. Still, God appeared again, renaming Abram to Abraham, father of many nations, and Sarai to Sarah, princess. He promised that through Sarah a son would be born, Isaac, and the covenant would continue. One hot afternoon, Abraham saw 3 strangers near his tent. He welcomed them, not knowing they were heavenly visitors. They told him, "This time next year, Sarah will have a son." Sarah laughed, "An old woman bearing a child?" But the Lord said, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Soon after, God revealed his plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham pleaded for the city, asking, "Will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50? 10? God said, "If I find 10 righteous, I will spare it." But there were not 10. Fire fell. Sodom was destroyed, and Abraham watched smoke rise from the plain. Then, in their old age, Sarah gave birth to Isaac. Laughter filled their tent, the laughter of fulfillment. But peace was short-lived. Tension forced Hagar and Ishmael away. Yet God promised to bless Ishmael too. Then came Abraham's greatest test. God said, "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and sacrifice him on Moriah." The words pierced his heart, yet Abraham obeyed. For 3 days he walked in silence. At the mountain's base he told his servants, "We will go and worship, and we will come back." Isaac carried the wood, Abraham the knife. "Father," Isaac asked, "where's the lamb?" Abraham replied, "God will provide." On the altar, with trembling hands, he raised the knife, and then came the voice, "Abraham, do not harm the boy." In the thicket, a ram was caught. Abraham sacrificed it instead and called the place Jehovah-Jireh. The Lord will provide. God said, "Because you obeyed me, all nations will be blessed through your offspring." Sarah died at 127. Abraham buried her in the cave of Machpelah. In his old age, he sent his servant to find a wife for Isaac, and God led him to Rebekah. Abraham lived to 175 years. Before he died, he looked across the land God had promised, the land his descendants would one day possess. He had known famine and feast, laughter and loss, faith and fear. But through it all, one truth stood unbroken. God is faithful. He was buried beside Sarah, and his name would echo through eternity. The friend of God, the father of faith, the one through whom salvation's promise would come. His story whispers through time. Faith has not seen the full picture, but trusting the one who does. When God calls, step out. When he tests, trust. Because the same God who led Abraham still leads those who listen. This is the story of Abraham, the man who walked with God.